Yep,
Okay.
now we're good.
All right. So long story short, our key differentiator is we're the first internet intelligence software that captures everything that happens on the screen. So if you're on a screen of your site or a client's, and mouse movements are all stored, each point is its own individual data record. Keystrokes are stored individually. So if you're on a client's site, let's say, and they enter in, I hate your product because they delete it out afterwards, then they enter in their message and submit the form, you would be able to go back and search how many people wrote hate, associated with client name beforehand. So that's that's a pretty deep example. But the important point is we have 1,000 times the data points, and they're all stored individually. We don't give them all to you on a screen, but you just have the potential to define your 3, 4, or 5 KPIs with a lot more precision behind them.
Okay.
So that's the data end of the product. The other end of this is through this we're creating complete recreations of each of the sessions that that any client on a company whose website is visiting. I'm going to stop talking for about 20 seconds just to getting a lot of questions about what can you guys capture. So you can watch for a second. Yeah, so I mean that's basically it for the most part on the introductory end. So we have one unified data source that's storing the entire online experience. It's storing everything on the macro level. When it comes down to doing on-page analysis, you can do it, over a customer life cycle. You can do it over a specific page for the last year on your website. It's not limited where the record is. You have to look at it individually. You can look at it on a macro basis, and we just basically give you complete insight into what's happening on any potential website with the ability to play any record and see it in the eyes of your customer.
Okay.
Couple usability details there while I have it open is we can play and pause for complete control of the viewing session. You can fast forward it. You can make it move slower, and when I click this button here, it might seem like it's zooming out. What it's doing is it's playing it in the exact resolution from your customer screen. So in the case if it's a mobile phone, you're going to see exactly what they did, the same size as a mobile phone. If they use a larger resolution computer, larger than yours, it's going to expand to, in this case, to fill up your entire screen. You have any questions at this point, Scott, or is that pretty straightforward?
No, I'm following so far.
Okay. All right. Here's probably.
I'm kind of thinking here as you're going.
Yeah, that's not where. For agencies particular, here's what I think is a lot more of note for what people are interested in now. Here's what we do for mobile sessions. What you're going to be seeing here is those are the finger points on a mobile visit. So you know how someone's on a mobile phone, they use 2 fingers, the first one kind of to guide, in a lot of cases the second one to scroll. We're storing and differentiating those as data points, and on the screen itself, you'll be able to see when the mobile phone flips. You'll be able to see how people are engaging specifically for mobile sessions. And this all updates accurately depending on, the phone type, the size, etc. So this is a unique feature from our company. Both of these are the storage end is the ability to, get complete insight into mobile sessions because everyone talks like they figured it out. The truth is we're all going to be in discovery mode for a couple of years when it comes down to how clients are really engaging with mobile phones and the right way to tailor them with correct responsive design. So, and any questions there, Scott, or can I move on? I have 2 more links to show you, then usually that's where we stop and chat, but you can interrupt me at any time. So.
Okay. Yeah, no, keep going.
Okay. This is another unique invention to our company is we have the first module that lets you engage live traffic without any local downloads needed on the client end. So what this means is if you had 5 people on your website, you'd be able to see and interact with the traffic as it's live. So you would be able to, potentially chat with each of your customers or you would just be able to monitor them for usability, or be able to actively tag them and kind of change the action that happens on the screen. So if you wanted a pop-up for a high-value client to say something, and we would pre-configure that, and you could actually apply that action and watch them at the same time. In this case, it's of note, for low traffic sites, it's pretty practical to use the whole site traffic. For larger traffic sites, we also have full, because this is all from the same data source, every view I'm showing you is all integrated into the same source. We can look at bits and pieces of traffic. So you could highlight, for instance, I'm a Ferrari salesman. I only want to look at people who've made a past purchase who are on the buy page. When that happens, I want a trigger sent to my email that shows me this live user screen, because I might want to use it while I'm selling the guy over the phone. If I know he's calling me and he's taking a look at my site, he might be looking about safety features while I'm pitching speed. I'm going to naturally adjust my sales pitch to close the client based on the nonverbal cues that I see on his end. So those are just, practical uses here. All these things all come down to what the need is of the client, or in your guys' case, capabilities come in more handy because you have quite a few clients. So. Any questions there, Scott, or keep going?
Nope, keep going.
All right, no problem. Choose a better set. All I'm going to be showing you here, just in, are you fairly familiar with Google Analytics, and I suppose any other, do you use them yourself, Scott?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so big difference here. We can store the, 1 second, maybe I should go to my testing environment. But big difference here is from our analytic module. Yeah, I'll pull up my out of the test environment. All of the information you see, starting points from Google, all of it is linked directly into all the video views I've shown. These aren't only views where all you see is the video. If you have a starting point and you want to click and say, let's look at my search engine traffic, that would filter down to the individual view to see the sessions on a playable basis. This example I'm showing you here is the deepest level that we provide on a micro level analysis for website traffic. This is created for every single visitor on your site. If you want to dig deeper on them, you have the ability to look at their entire history from one dashboard. So what this is this is the page within a particular session that's currently activated. Underneath are each of the individual pages. So this is a 3-page session. You can go back and forth. If you click play, it's going to go through their entire session, but you can control page by page, get a panoramic view of what happened. And the big asset here is being able to go into that same customer's history, whether or not they're anonymous or you have their information, and look at their past sessions and details to understand the value of that potential client or client over the entire life cycle. And, for customer servicing, if people have had complaints in the past, or you speak to someone who said, hey, your site sucks because I'm not able to purchase, or I'm not able to contact you, it was your fault, you can go back and very simply, look at the time that they're referencing and see what actually happened. So
if we're viewing one of the session details, and say there's something on there that we think we need to share with one of our clients, can we somehow screen grab that and export it?
Yeah, you can. All the videos are exportable. They're not exportable from the view I'm showing you, but yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you on our end, it's about 50-50 from agencies or customers who would rather share it with their clients versus those who'd rather use it for more insight on their end. So.
Yeah, and I'm just, I'm thinking of one client in particular who, they're a great client, but we have to come in with usually very strong documentation to support recs.
I'm sorry, you said to support recs?
Yeah, to support recommendations.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, were you thinking of a particular use case, or just the fact that you need to justify anything you said, essentially, so he doesn't think you're full of it?
Yeah, more to justify it.
Okay.
They're the kind of client, just sitting down looking at their web analytics, I saw their mobile traffic was climbing like crazy, mobile visits, over a 24-month period. So I basically pulled all that data, put it into a document, sent it to our client, and he's like, oh, shit, okay, well, this makes sense, so build me a mobile version of my site.
That's how it works.
So
No one trusts.
Yeah, he's just kind of one of those guys. You know, if you show him something tangible and he gets it, then he's pretty apt to just say, okay, go do it. But you have to support it with something. He doesn't want you to just tell him he needs it, you know, show him why.
No, I completely understand. I mean, that's what we all play with in this industry, particularly when you have tech agencies. I still run into so many websites who I find out spent, you know, obscene amounts of money on HTML1 from someone doing it from scratch, and you know, just they're instructed from their tech guy who started 12 years ago and hasn't updated that this is the best way to do things. You know, it's a real sensitive industry when you have people who aren't on the same page. So yeah, I guess I usually don't dig too deep in intro discussion. I'll let you know we have the same views from Google Omniture. We have all of the same starting point capabilities when it comes down to you log in, you see all the macro data. What I'm showing you here is the differentiators that's directly linked from there. I will mention one of the big things that we take pride in is usability wise. Every page within our screen, Omniture, for example, has. You can look at just about anything you want from the data they store, but you have to go through quite a few tabs to get there. You got to dig around a bit, to say, okay, well, if I dig through here now, I can look at my mobile traffic. We make sure in this example here, aside from the romanticized watching them element, we also have the supplementary data that can be, we have defaults here in these cases for the session and the customer history view, but these are all chosen with every client we have, and we ask them, what are your 4 or 5 KPIs? We're going to custom throw those on there, and we can do those basically on the fly internally because we have, one data source. And unlike unlike a lot of the mainstream competitors out there, they keep buying smaller companies and trying to, I pretend I have fake quotes in the air, integrate the data. It's not as flexible when you don't have it from one source. So you could throw, accompanying sales statistics for a particular company whose sales is a key point they'd want to see while they're looking at the customer history. Yeah, and do you guys use tagging very actively, Scott? Within Google, do you use Google tags or anything else for your traffic or specific clients?
Again, it's hit and miss. I mean, it really depends on the client because obviously everything we do is tied to the budget and the time we invest on it. So, with some clients, we will implement some tagging. With others, there's just not budget to support it. So it's not the ideal, but it's just unfortunately the reality.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'm not going to dig there either, but I'll just let you know we have tagging and segmentation built in as well. So if you wanted to find tags for, once again, KPIs, that's usually where people leverage our deeper analytics, our ability to look at, if you want to measure confidence on a form, if you want to measure confidence on a client's form for how many times someone changes their decision before clicking submit on an individual field, that's one of the common differentiators where we're adding value to, specific clients. Things they haven't been able to do before when it comes to keystroke and selection.
Yeah, and I'll tell you just in everything you're showing, I mean, right now I'm thinking back to the same client because we're in the infancy stages of redesigning 8 of their brand sites just because they've gotten pretty stale over the years. And I'm looking at this thinking from a usability standpoint, being able to track and then make better recommendations with the redesigns themselves. So
yeah,
we're kind of focusing more on the usability.
Yeah, the usability was kind of the, for someone I'm sure you guys as the agency, someone who understands the value of usability is kind of the de facto, usage case of when it comes down to the videos, just being able to answer the questions that aren't so obvious from looking through, piles of data. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's one thing to be able to go and pull all the, the top hit pages out of it, the analytics reports, but to actually see how the users are interacting with the site might lead us to better recommendations on the redesigns themselves.
Yeah, and the last case I'll run through, it's also usually of note for the agencies is conversion. You'll probably give it the same answer to conversion funnels. Are you fairly familiar with conversion funnels, Scott? Do you use them regularly within clients, or is that another depends?
Yeah, it's another hit and miss.
Okay. So the long story short of it is, personally, most clients we speak to, we could recommend conversion funnels. You define the processes on your site you care about and take a look at who's abandoning. And that's what a lot of people these days are relying on. One of the first checks they do is figuring out, focusing more on the people who leave their site and don't do what they want to do as opposed to the ones who are already kind of flowing steady. But one of the big differences there is, normal analytics, you see 5 people aren't doing what you want them to do. Great. I see these 5 people aren't doing this, but I still got to figure out how I fix that problem. I know that problem exists now. What could possibly possess someone to fill out a 6-page purchase form for 20 minutes and then leave on the 7th page before submit, Those answers aren't always so obvious. So all of this video playback. Did I cut you off there, Scott? Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just agreeing.
Okay.
It is. It's hard.
Yeah, so the difference there is all these sessions are synced. We have conversion funnels where the sessions, if you see those 5 people, you can click play and you can dig into their session just like this. So in our case, what we found in half the cases, I'm not supposed to tell people this, but half the cases it's the text fault, a web-based error, which in our case we do, if there was an error on the page, it's going to be shown on the video. We're not just taking, one page or a static view of the website. We're storing it each and every time and recreating what was done on that session. So half the time we've realized the texts sound like they like to blame the marketers for problems, when in reality they might have had on-site errors, when it comes down to people keep trying to fix their funnel. So.
Okay.
So that just, the last use case, a practical example I'll throw up. So if you get the gist of the if you get the gist of the system, I'll just jump, I suppose, right to the details will be relevant for us to potentially take a next step. So.
Sure.
So the important thing is, you mentioned you guys are using Google for most of your clients. Our product is completely flexible. I'll tell you, most of the people, what we'll do is we'll either adopt a pilot for an agency like yourself. It'd be a couple months long, where we would waive any monthly fee we have by default. We do our one hard cost is setup. We have, on every client, we have a 3-week setup period where we basically have to make sure everything's working from a coding perspective on the videos. It's a 10 to 15 hour setup time with an agency rate of $150 for that setup. What we're doing is usually setting up a pilot for 2 months where it's 100K monthly hits limit on the pilot. If you guys want to go above that, you're going to have to pay the variable cost for hosting, because we're custom building servers above that range to make sure everything flows.
Okay.
So that's how we're working agency-wise. The other note is client-wise as well, is all these modules I've shown, all of these can be delivered individually. So in the case of mobile, let's say, if you only wanted to see for your mobile traffic, you wouldn't need to, it's not going to conflict with Google Analytics. It's not going to conflict with Omniture. You may just want to solve one little piece of your puzzle. And we're hoping that once you see how much that helps that individual piece, you can move on for potential adoption. So.
Okay. Hey, help me understand the mobile piece of it a little better. And the reason I'm asking, we've got, the one mobile site that we've already launched for the client I mentioned to you, and we actually just launched another mobile site for another client last night.
Okay.
So how is the mobile intelligence that you guys are gathering different from what I'm going to be seeing in, say, Google's analytics for their mobile?
Well, what I showed you here before, first off, we're storing the touch points. When the finger hits the screen, the entire duration your finger's on the screen is being stored. So what Google's doing for most of their analytics, once again, is they're only creating a data record from the transition from page to page. We're creating an extra 1,000 records to delineate each individual movement point. So if you want to add events on, what Google lets you do. Are you familiar with event tracking, Scott?
Yes.
Okay, so if you want to store anything on the page or anything out of the norm of transition, you need to go out of your way, create an event just to store that extra piece. If you wanted to know someone who clicked on something in a page that doesn't go to a next page, we're storing everything by default. So you can go back in history, store that information. So with Google, there'd be no way to detect what's happening, what I'm showing right now on the screen. They'd know when you go from link to link, but we would actually have data points and, of course, the mobile capability to see, you know, how your clients are engaging directly. The orientation is the other statistic. We have the orientation, the flip switch is accurate from every, I don't want to say every, there's always weird modules or weird phones coming from Japan, but 99% of the mainstream mobile phones out there, we have accurate flips, orientation. So it all comes down to depth, you know. You're not going to want to use all of it, but in most cases, one or two are going to be relevant. So that's what you're not going to see within Google is these things displayed in this example. So.
Okay. Another question, can this be utilized with iPad apps? Because we've built a couple iPad apps for clients. We're doing more. You know, I'd love to be able to fully track how the users are using those apps.
So the mouse movement, it's a different, the apps are a bit of an outlier. We're working on the delivery of 2 apps right now, but they're all a custom build. They all have custom codes. Okay. All of the tracking isn't a problem for the apps. The problem is the recreation of movement because apps kind of define how the movement is. It's not like a mouse move, you know. So the long story short is we have the capability, but that's not something. It's always a pretty deep dig, you know. Take a couple of weeks for us to get a code, and we need to dig into the app, and of course, so that's. But yeah, it's definitely there for the cases of high value clients who want to take the time. So.
Okay.
Any other questions on your end, Scott? Or?
No, I don't think so. I'm just thinking of different clients right now and where we might be able to utilize it. Right now, I'm definitely seeing it as a possibility with those redesigns.
Okay, and just to know, what's usually the process of adoption from your agency? How do you guys, I don't know how horizontal or vertical you guys usually are and what your process is. Let's just say that you like what you see in the technology. How does the process work internally?
Well, it's pretty much going to be writing up a recap of, what the product is, what kind of value add it's going to bring, sharing that with the client, obviously with pricing. And then if the client gives the A-OK, then we can move forward. We don't invest in, I guess, external solutions on our own dime. Obviously, it's a pass-through cost to the client. So.
Well, that's usually a lot easier when it works that way. Just a few agencies are usually on the premise of they want to do it internally on their website for a while, to get a better understanding. But it's a lot more practical, as you said, and a lot less of a pain because all this comes down to is what the client wants in each case. So I personally think there's no reason to play games in those regards and just kind of cut to the point. So in that case, our next step is usually, like I said, interest. Is usually if there's interest, I'll send you a follow-up, most likely tomorrow, that breaks down, includes our pricing points for agency. And in your case, if you're not going to consider adoption on yourself, we give the pilot option that you would probably want for any enterprise-type client that would work out for both of them. Is that going to be the best bet? Is there any additional information you'd like in a follow-up? Or would you like to schedule a time where we might want a deeper technical dig maybe? Or do you think it's to the point of just seeing the details?
Yeah, why don't you send me the details? Because what I'm going to end up doing is basically sharing the details with the account supervisor for the client I'm thinking of for the redesigns. Inevitably, it's going to be her call because she'll be the one having the conversation with the client on whether or not to proceed with this. But I'd definitely like to at least get the information in her hands and let her know why I think we should recommend it.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. And so it's not an issue on our end, particularly the first couple clients with an agency for us to redo the presentation. If the client wants to go through the same thing, that's not a pain point internally. So feel free to ask if that's the case. And I'm going to send you a follow-up, most likely tomorrow, with the information you need. And don't hesitate to reach out if you need any more blanks filled. So
that'd be perfect.
All right, Scott, have a nice day, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Patrick.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.